My name is Jeff Wyatt, Jeff with a J, W-Y-A-T-T. And I'm from Milton Keynes, and this is the first time I've been to Chichester. What a beautiful town you've got, ladies and gentlemen. But there's quite a lot of sheep walking around. I am shocked that this genteel little town has got so many hostile people. But you know what? This is what this has come to now. This is the confrontation that they want, and this is the confrontation that is happening. Because we've had 18 months, and we've done the research, and we know what is going on. We have woken up to the tyranny. We've just been talking about policemen taking to one side the young man that's organised this protest. One of the reasons why I spent 2.5 hours driving to Chichester is because I can today, because I know that in a matter of weeks travel will be curtailed like it was a 1.5 years ago. I know that me doing this in a few weeks' time will cause me to be arrested, just like I was on May the 16th in 2020. I was one of the first to be arrested at Speaker's Corner alongside Piers Corbyn, alongside Fiona Hine and 17 other people. And we got arrested because we had the audaciousness to stand up and do what English people do, and that is to call into question a tyrannical government. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what each and every one of you is doing here today. It's a very, very important thing to do. There is a famous 20th century lawyer in America called Louis Brandeis, who very famously said that the most important political office is that of the individual citizen, and that's what each and every one of you is doing here today. It's a very important thing to do, especially when there are lockdowns, and boy, there are lockdowns coming. We know that, don't we?
Yes!
We know the tyranny that is happening, and we have got a Prime Minister in this country that is just a puppet on the string. A puppet on the string of the New World Order. It's been touched on in previous speeches that what we have here is a New World Order of corporations governing what the government is doing. And I know Kate has talked about communism. Well, I see it more at the moment as fascism, because fascism is a definition of when government gets into bed with the corporate whores. And that is exactly what this government has done. It has got into bed with the corporate whores, the medical whores, the educational whores, and most importantly, or just as importantly, the media whores. Do we trust the BBC?
No! The lying liars of lies, pimping for a tyrannical government.
I couldn't have said it any better myself. It's a very serious subject. We have individuals like Marianna Spring, who has the most Orwellian of titles, and that title is Disinformation Reporter.
And Marianna Spring sat at my table and ate my food with no mask on, no mask, and her producer at my table, and then she put her mask on and I had to tell her which side she'd been walking next to me when we did the filming, so that it all looked right for Panorama. What a pile of pants.
And Marianna Spring had the audacity to call me stupid because I held up a placard. I'm known for my placards. And this particular placard that Marianna Spring, you despicable journalist, you're not a journalist, you're an agent of the state, Marianna Spring. So I say, for the 9th time in public, Marianna Spring, come and interview me, and I'll tell you why I'm not a stupid idiot. Come and interview any single one of these good people of Chichester in this crowd today, and they will tell you why I hold up placards that say, for instance today, the UK government, genocidal maniacs. Because they are, Marianna Spring. We are dealing with a very serious subject, and it is called genocide. There does not get any more serious an accusation than a grown man, a successful businessman, a semi-retired businessman, calling his government out as genocidal maniacs. But that is exactly what I'm doing, Boris Johnson, because you are just a puppet on the string of the New World Order. A New World Order that's headed by sinister organisations like BlackRock, and Vanguard. Two companies that are controlled by the likes of the Rothschilds, controlled by the Rockefellers and the DuPont family. We are experiencing nothing short of the sinister nature of the New World Order wanting to keep control of a failing fiat monetary system. That is the real reason why this has been created. We all know in the movement and in this country we have millions of people in the movement. In the world we have hundreds of millions of people that have woken up to this sinister genocide. I woke up at the end of February, early March last year. It took me 24 hours to realise that my government is lying to us, and that awakening moment hit me like a runaway truck. And ever since that moment I've been joining good people like you, and I've been doing my research, and this goes back a long way. We have been brought up in an era, we have been brought up in a time of lies. From the minute we get born, when we have that birth certificate written out, they are in control of us. And what's happened, those in control, the despicable Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and the DuPonts know that their dodgy fiat monetary system is unsustainable. The worldwide debt is colossal, it is unserviceable. So for decades they've been working out how they can control the people, and this is what are all about. There is a barrister, a UK barrister called Melinda Main, who in cohorts with her magistrate friend Kara McCullum has written a legal submission to the International Criminal Court citing genocide of her own government. That's the International Criminal Court in The Hague, has a citation with expert witnesses like, and they don't get any more expert than this, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Luc Montagnier of France, who is the one that discovered the HIV virus. I know I differ a little bit with Kate on this one, but he is an expert, he is a worldwide authority on virology, and side by side with another world-known cardiologist and physicist, Dr. Richard Fleming, they have put their name to the following statement. They believe that's two eminent world-leading authorities have cited the UK government and other countries have joined this citation, that genocide is being perpetrated. Ladies and gentlemen, we are being lied to. We know that, and it is our duty to come out to places like this and spread the word. I believe a third of the population have woken up to this nonsense, this death, this injury that is going on. In my hometown of Milton Keynes, you may have heard of a funeral director called John O'Looney. John O'Looney is a man I've met on a couple of occasions. In fact, his business is based just hundreds of yards away from where I grew up. He's a man of stature, he's a man of honour. We're all the same in this crowd because we are prepared to stand up. But that man is seeing at close quarter the death that is happening. That man is a brave man because he is standing up and he is telling the world, literally the world, of what is happening. And the sheep here on the streets of Chichester, and I'm not polite.
We've got a sign over there, look, saying cheery.
Kate, do you know what? I was just going to say this. Let's be fair about this. Guys, you're not welcome here.
Well, I've got a different attitude, young men. You just hang around and you might learn something. What you're about to listen to might actually save your lives, because I know that you've grown up in an era where you've been taught in your school that the government knows best. Well, young men, the older generation know, because we've lived through a few years, and we know that the government do tell lies. Do you agree, ladies and gentlemen? Yes. We know that the government have not got our best interests at heart quite often. And you may find out a few things if you just stay and hang around. We get back to talking about Dr. Michael Yeadon, and I hope those two young lads have heard that. because there is a man who knows what he's talking about. He is not alone. I could reel off expert after expert that I have done research on in the last 18 months. People like Dr. Robert Malone, who Kate touched upon, who invented the technology, and he is publicly saying this technology is doing more harm than good. Dr. Richard Fleming, Senator Scott Jensen in America, a medical doctor. "We are being played," was the quote from him that I will remember. An elected politician telling us that we are being played. Unfortunately, we have a parliamentary system in this country that seems to be inhabited by spineless cowards. I've not seen any MP, and this includes good guys like Steve Baker, good guys like Graham Brady. Sir Graham Brady, the chairman of the 1922 committee, had a meeting with some senior movement people at the end of September, one of which being my friend John O'Looney, one of which being my friend Professor Dolores Cahill, another world-renowned expert on virology. And that meeting gave the movement a little bit of hope for a few days. But when I heard that this character, this parliamentarian, this chairman of the 1922 committee met under Chatham House rules where the content of that meeting could not be divulged, I knew it was a whitewashing exercise. It was a fact-finding exercise by the Conservative Party. And I'm hoping you charlatans in the Conservative Party, and I know that I am talking in a place that has a huge Conservative majority, and I dare say that is one of the reasons why I have been given abuse for holding up that sign that my colleague there is holding up. Because your precious party, the Conservative Party, has become genocidal maniacs. People are dying. Now I have a friend called Karen Reddick in London who this week made a new placard, and she erected it outside the House of Commons on a railing, and that placard said that 1,700 people had died. That is one woman taking her one woman's protest to the heart of government. And if more people did that, if more people did what we're doing here today, and they are, the movement is growing. We have a little bit of a phony war situation going on now where people think it's all over. We don't in the movement. We know it's not over. We know what is coming. Why do you think that puppet on the string, Boris Johnson, went on holiday 2 weeks ago? He went on holiday to sun his fat ass because he knows what he is going to give us all in a few weeks' time, and that is another lockdown. And what do we say to that? We say thumbs down to that, because I am not going to comply with that. During lockdown 1, I made every single excuse at my house to go to Sainsbury's to do the shopping, because I made a point of going out of the house, because I am an Englishman and I am not going to be told by government that my common law inalienable rights are rubbish. They're not rubbish, they are there, and we've had the last 50 years of a statute government system informing the public that we have no common law rights. Well, we do have common law rights, and ladies and gentlemen, I proved them in court back in June of this year, where I had my second court hearing to appear under, where I, on the 5th of July last year, spoke like I am now outside the cathedral in Leicester with Dr. Kevin Corbett, Mr. Piers Corbyn, and the founder of the Brexit Party, Miss Catherine Blakelock. And we spoke our political speeches, and for our trouble we were harassed by the local Leicester Constabulary, and we were told that we would have a fixed penalty notice sent to us in the post. And do you know what? A week before the statute of limitations came, I got that letter in the post. I ripped it up and put it in the bin. Then I had a summons appear before the Magistrates Court in Leicester. Now, as the non-payment of a fixed penalty notice is only a summary offence, I was not prepared to allow them to rise the charge up to an indictable offence of not appearing before the court. So I appeared in my living man capacity on February the 8th, I think it was, at Leicester Magistrates Court, and I walked into the court and the judge said, "I want you to sit over there, Mr. Wyatt." The first thing I said was, "My name is Jeffrey Wyatt. I'm not Mr. Wyatt. I'm here in my living man capacity and I want to stand over here." And that's where I stayed. The judge left the court and 2 minutes later he came back. I sat down where I wanted to sit down, not another word was said. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of common law. That is the power of the individual taking on the system. Not another word was said about where I was sitting. I spent 3 hours playing a game with this judge, and in the end, I cut a long story short. "Mr. Wyatt," "No, Judge, it's Jeffrey Wyatt. I want you to make a plea." "I've got no comment to make, Judge." "I will put a plea in for you," he said. "Do what you like, mate." I literally spoke to him like that. But there was a begrudging respect between the two of us. I went in there dressed reasonably well. I wasn't abusive. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what we all should do. When we have a police constable telling us that we can't do stuff, as is what's happened here today, by a police constable having the audacity to question this young fella for doing what his duty as an Englishman. It is to bring to the attention the tyranny behaviour that is going on in the government. And when a police constable does such things, or when a judge questions our freedoms, we should stand up for ourselves. And that is the most important thing we can do. Eventually, I submitted a 38-page common law submission to that judge, and I quoted him statute laws that remind him and remind the CPS that were charging me of my inalienable rights as a free man. 3 weeks after I put that legal submission in using common law, but using it within the statute system, my case was dropped. One of the reasons why I've come here today is because there is no point defeating the statute system in court if you don't come and exercise your right as a free man, which is what I'm doing today. Because, ladies and gentlemen, what we are about to see perpetrated against us, and don't forget, the tyranny is happening on the streets of Australia as we speak. Our friends in Australia, they cannot leave their houses unless they are prepared to pay thousands of dollars in fines. That, ladies and gentlemen, is tyranny, and it's happening in a first world country. It's happening in a Commonwealth country. It's also happening in Canada. Who believes it's going to happen here in this country soon? I certainly do. And this is why we're here, because, ladies and gentlemen, it is our turn. This tyranny that the government is perpetrating against the people has happened before on many occasions as the centuries have gone by. This is our fight, and we must fight it because we owe it to our children to do that, even if they think we're slightly mad, which mine does. My 26-year-old, she's still listening to me. And I say to her, keep questioning me, darling. You can say anything you like. There is no going back, because we know, Kate has described it very eloquently as she normally does. Simone also, fantastic words that Simone came out with earlier. I'm not a doctor, I don't purport to be a doctor, but what I can do, because I've got a bit of a big mouth, I am told, I can come out on the streets and I can quote people like Dr. Robert Malone, Dr. Richard Fleming, Professor Dolores Cahill, Dr. Michael Yeadon, the list goes on. 60,000 people signed the Great Barrington Declaration. Ladies and gentlemen, that's 60,000 medics are telling us the truth is in plain sight. But the gagging that's going on in the media is an absolute appalling sense of treason, frankly. It's treason what is coming out of the BBC at the moment, and we must fight it. and I know these speeches today have been filmed, and it is our duty to spread the word that has been spoken. I've said enough. Thank you very much for listening to me, and thank you, the beautiful town of Chichester, even the sheep. Thank you.
Jeff Wyatt, fantastic.